Hello students of class 11. Welcome back once again to your biology class. Today in our class we shall learn about the chapter of respiration in plants. Respiration, what is that? It is the process of breaking the C-C bond of complex organic molecules by the process of oxidation, which leads to the release of energy. We all know that it is known as cellular respiration. Why? Because it is the process of oxidation within the cells to release energy, carbon dioxide or other biochemical molecules. Right? So that is the definition of respiration, we can say. Now, the ultimate source of food, we know. The ultimate source, we get food basically from the plants, right? And the plants make up the food by the process of photosynthesis. So the ultimate source of energy which we are getting is from the sun, because without the sun the process of performing the process of respiration would not have been possible without the solar energy. So we can say that the sun is the ultimate source of energy. And the respiration, the plants, like any other living organisms, they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, that is gas exchange. And during daytime what happens? They carry out photosynthesis and they make use of some amount of the oxygen which is produced for the oxidation of molecules to get energy and liberate out the remaining. And plants, they do not have elaborate respiratory system or organ for gas exchange. Why? Because every part of the plant takes care of its own gas exchange needs, and hence there is little transport of gases from one part to the other in the plants, and they have very less demand for gas exchange. The plant parts respire at rates far lower than the animals. Why? Because the green plants obtain ATP molecules during the process of photosynthesis also. Only during photosynthesis there is exchange of large volume of gases, but leaves are well adapted for this purpose. And gas exchange takes place through the stomata and the lenticels, we all know, and the gas exchange or the transport inside the body of the plant is facilitated by the loose packing of parenchyma and other living cells. And respiratory substrates are those high energy organic molecules that are oxidized to liberate the energy, and glucose is the most common and favored respiratory substrate of the cell. And apart from that, the respiratory substrate may also include the carbohydrate, fat, and protein. But these macromolecules are broken down into simpler molecules before the process of oxidation. And there is the distance, we can say, for which the gas diffuse even in large bulky plant parts like the trunk is not great. As living cells are located quite close to the surface of the plant parts, just below the bark, they have also openings which are known as lenticels, right, on the bark. And through the stomatas and the lenticels, this exchange of the gases takes place. Understood? And in leaf stems and roots, the parenchyma cells are loosely packed that provide interconnected air spaces also. So you have to know the difference between respiration and combustion also. Respiration, you know, it's a biochemical reaction occurring in the stepwise controlled manner and occurs only in the living cells and involve a number of enzymes. And during the process of respiration, the energy is liberated in a stepwise manner and the energy is transformed in the form of ATP and some amount is lost as heat. Right? And what is combustion? It is a physicochemical process occurring spontaneously without any control, and it's not a cellular process and hence does not involve any enzymes, and the energy is released all at one step and it is liberated in the form of heat and light also. So the complete combustion or the complete burning of glucose gives energy, and most of the energy is given out as heat. So you have to know the equation: C6H12O6 plus 6O2 from 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy. And this energy is utilized to synthesize the other molecules which is required. And during the process of catabolism of glucose, what happens? All the liberated energy does not go out as heat, and the oxidation of glucose takes place in different steps, right? And it enables some steps to couple released energy to the ATP synthesis. And during the process of respiration, oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide, water, and energy is released, right? Now we will know about the glycolysis or EMP pathway. The carbohydrate of respiration, the broad scheme of respiration, that is the mechanism of respiration. The carbohydrate glucose is converted into pyruvate in a sequence of reactions which is known as glycolysis. And further breakdown of the pyruvic acid takes place either in the absence or presence of oxygen. When it takes place in the absence of oxygen, then it is known as anaerobic, and when it takes place in presence of oxygen, it is known as aerobic. An anaerobic breakdown occurs in the cytoplasm, and an organic compound is formed along with the liberation of carbon dioxide, and there is no electron transport involved for the synthesis of ATP. And aerobic breakdown of pyruvic acid occurs inside the mitochondria. Remember it, inside the mitochondria. And different steps are there. So what are the steps which takes place? First, the formation of acetyl coenzyme A. Second, the Krebs cycles where the pyruvic acid is completely oxidized. And finally, the formation of ATP takes place by oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so glycolysis, what we can say, it is the process in which one molecule of glucose is broken down into two molecules of pyruvic acid. Okay, and it is also known as the EMP pathway after the first letter of the name of the scientist, I have already told. And glycolysis is the first stage in the breakdown of the glucose and occurs in the cytoplasm, and it does not require oxygen. Now you have to know the steps which takes place. Okay, the first step, the glucose is phosphorylated to glucose 6-phosphate by ATP in the presence of enzyme hexokinase that requires Mg2+. After that, it is an isomerization reaction where glucose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate, and the reaction is catalyzed by phosphohexoisomerase, okay, which requires Mg2+ for its function. And after that, this fructose 6-phosphate plus ATP, it forms fructose 1,6-biphosphate, okay. And then this fructose 1,6-biphosphate, what happens to that? This forms 6-phosphoglyceraldehyde plus dihydroxyacetone phosphate, right? This dihydroxyacetone phosphate, in presence of triose phosphate isomerase, it forms 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. Then in the next step, what happens? This 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde plus H3PO4 in presence of enolase, it forms 1,3-biphospoglyceraldehyde. Okay, so many steps are there in this reaction. You have to know the steps of the process of glycolysis. After that, these 1,3-biphospoglyceraldehyde, it combines with 2-NAD plus and forms 1,3-biphospoglyceric acid plus 2-NADH2, right? Then again this reacts with 2-ADP and forms 2-phosphoglyceric acid plus 2-ATP. Then this 3-phosphoglyceric acid, in presence of phosphoglyceromutase, it forms 2-phosphoglyceric acid, right? Then this again reacts with enolase and it forms phosphoenol pyruvate plus 2H2O, right? So when we come to the overall reaction equation, what we have to know? The overall reaction we have to write like this way: C6H12O6 plus 2 ATP plus 4 ADP plus 4 PI plus 2 NAD plus arrow in presence of enzyme, it forms 2 C3H4O3 plus 2 ADP plus 4 ATP plus 2 NADH2. Okay, and the net gain of glycolysis are two molecules each of pyruvic acid, NADH2 and ATP. Okay, in this pathway what happens, the ATP molecules are formed in two different ways. First, by the direct transfer of phosphate to ADP, and second by the oxidation of NADH, which is produced during glycolysis, into NAD. Clear? See this chart properly, it will be more easier for you to understand. You have to draw the diagram or the process of glycolysis in a tabulated format. Understood? This is the EMP pathway. The three different cells, the pyruvic acid is handled in three ways: lactic acid fermentation, alcoholic fermentation, and aerobic respiration, which is known as the Krebs cycle. Okay, so now we come to anaerobic respiration of pyruvic acid. When oxygen is limiting the pyruvic acid and NADH, they start accumulating, and under such condition, anaerobic breakdown of pyruvic acid takes place. And this process is also called fermentation, and it leads to the formation of ethyl alcohol in most of the cells, or to an organic acid like lactic acid. Now, in most, this ethyl alcohol formation is most common in yeast, certain other fungi and bacteria also. And pyruvate is decarboxylated in the presence of enzyme pyruvic dehydrogenase thiamine pyrophosphate and Mg2+. Okay, and this lactic acid formation process, in this process what happens, the pyruvic acid molecules are reduced by the addition of hydrogen from NADH, which is formed during the process of glycolysis, and the reaction is catalyzed by lactic acid dehydrogenase and requires Zn2 plus and flavin mononucleotide. So when we write the equation, it comes to pyruvic acid plus NADH to give an arrow, write lactic dehydrogenase forms lactic acid. Okay, and lactic acid fermentation is carried out by lactobacillus, and it also occurs in human skeletal muscles during strenuous physical activity when sufficient oxygen is not supplied to the muscles. Clear? I think you have understood. Lactic acid fermentation or lactic acid formation. This is the process of anaerobic respiration. Now, what are the drawbacks of this fermentation process? Okay, the energy production is limited here, means less than 7% of the energy in glucose is released, and not all of it is trapped as high energy bond of ATP. And most hazardous products, that is acid or alcohol, are formed within the body. What is that acid? That is the lactic acid formation. Clear? Now we come to aerobic breakdown of pyruvic acid. When oxygen is available, what happens? The pyruvic acid and NADH are formed during glycolysis in the cytoplasm, enter the mitochondria, and the breakdown of the pyruvic acid into carbon dioxide and water occurs in 2 steps in the mitochondrial matrix. What are those 2 steps? First is the formation of acetyl coenzyme A from pyruvic acid, and second is the Krebs cycle. These 2 we will discuss in details now. Okay, in the mitochondrial matrix, what happens? The pyruvic acid undergoes oxidative decarboxylation. What is that? Pyruvate is first decarboxylated. Decarboxylated means removal of one carbon in the form of carbon dioxide, and then oxidized in the presence of enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase, which requires NAD plus as hydrogen acceptor. So what will be the summary of this acetyl coenzyme A formation? Pyruvic acid plus COA plus NAD arrow in presence of pyruvate dehydrogenase and Mg2 plus forms acetyl coenzyme A plus NADH plus CO2. Right? This is the complete oxidation of pyruvate. Clear? When you write the equation, it will be in this manner. Okay. Because due to lack of space, here it is given, the arrow is given vertically. You just make it horizontally. Okay, so when you write, it comes, the equation comes as such. Clear? Okay, now we come to Krebs cycle or TCA cycle. Very important. The reactions of the cycle were worked out by Sir Hans Krebs. According to his name, the term has come the Krebs cycle. Now, citric acid, we know it is the first product of the cycle of the reaction. Is the citric acid. So this is also known as the citric acid cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle, TCA cycle. TCA, full form, tricarboxylic acid cycle. Different sequence of reactions takes place. You have to know the sequence of the reactions and you have to draw the chart. Okay, the circular chart which is given in the book, you have to draw the Krebs cycle chart. Clear? Now, this Krebs cycle or TCA cycle, the sequence of reactions. First, what happens? You have to know the steps. So many steps are here. First, number 1, the formation of citric acid takes place when acetyl coenzyme A combines with oxaloacetic acid in the presence of enzyme citrate synthetase CoA is released. So what will be the equation? Oxaloacetic acid plus acetyl coenzyme A plus H2O arrow in presence of citrate synthetase forms citric acid plus CoA. Okay, number 2. The citric acid is dehydrated and converted into cis-aconitic acid. Okay, which is catalyzed by cis-aconic aconitis it will be. And citric acid, given arrow, cis aconitis arrow forms cis aconitic acid plus H2O. Okay, this cis aconitic acid plus water forms isocitric acid. Fourth step, this isocitric acid plus NaDH in presence of isocitrate dehydrogenase forms oxalosuccinic acid plus NaDH. Okay, the next step, this oxalosuccinic acid forms alpha ketoglutaric acid plus CO2. Next step, this alpha ketoglutaric acid plus NAD plus CoA, it forms succinyl coenzyme A plus CO2 plus NADH, right? Now this succinyl coenzyme A plus GDP plus H3PO4 plus NAD plus H2, it forms succinic acid plus GTP plus NADH plus CoA. Clear? Now this oxidation of succinic acid takes place by the removal of the 2 hydrogen atom in the presence of succinate dehydrogenase, and it results in the formation of fumaric acid. Now this succinic acid plus FAD in presence of succinate dehydrogenase, it will form fumaric acid plus FADH2. Clear? Now when this fumaric acid is hydrated, means fumaric acid plus H2O in presence of fumarus forms malic acid. Okay. Next step, the malic acid plus NAD plus, it forms oxaloacetic acid plus NADH. Now when we write the overall reaction for the aerobic breakdown of pyruvic acid, what we write? Pyruvic acid plus 4 NAD plus FAD plus H2O plus ADP plus PI. Given an arrow, it forms 3 CO2 plus 4 NADH plus 4 H plus FADH2 plus ATP. This is the ultimate or complete process of the Krebs cycle. You have to draw the chart which is given here. On the left side you can see. Clear? This is the summary of the Krebs cycle. Now what is the significance of the Krebs cycle? It is the major pathway for the generation of ATP molecules from the energy of the organic molecules, and many intermediates of this cycle are used in the synthesis of many other important organic molecules, example chlorophyll from succinyl coenzyme A, alpha ketoglutaric acid, pyruvic acid, and oxaloacetic acid from amino acid, etc. Clear? This is the Krebs cycle. You can see it is also given in your book. You have to draw the cycle. It can be given as Krebs cycle also. It can be named as TCA cycle also. It can be named as citric acid cycle also. Clear? Now, electron transport system, ETS. The electron transport system occurs in the electron transport particle, also called inner membrane particle or oxysome, which is present on the inner surface of the inner membrane of mitochondria. The NADH molecules, which are formed during the process of glycolysis, the formation of acetyl coenzyme A and the Krebs cycle, these are oxidized by NADH dehydrogenase, and the electrons are transferred through FMN. What is FMN? Flavin mononucleotide. Then it gets converted to ubiquinone. Okay, and the FMN, it gets reduced to FMNH2, and NADH plus H plus is oxidized to NAD plus. And the reduced FMN transfers its electrons to a FES. What is FES? That is an iron sulfur protein. And the proton to the intermembrane space. Okay. And then complex 4, it refers to the cytochrome C oxidase complex containing cytochrome A and A3 and 2 copper centers. Cytochrome oxidase is tightly bound to the mitochondrial membrane. And the electrons from NADH are oxidized. Okay. And after that, ubiquinone, it also receives the reducing equivalent via FADH2. Clear? And ubiquinone also receives reducing equivalent through FADH2, which is generated during the oxidation of succinic acid by succinate dehydrogenase, which is also known as the complex 2. So complex 1, you can see here, complex 1 what we see, NADH dehydrogenase, complex 2 is the FADH2, complex 3 is the cytochrome BE1, BC1, and complex 4 is the cytochrome C oxidase, and complex 5 is the ATP synthesis. Although you don't need to know about the details from here. And this electron transport system and oxidative phosphorylation, the integral membrane protein complex, okay, we can say the F0, it is an integral membrane protein complex which forms the channel through which the protons cross the inner membrane. Inner membrane means from the intermembrane space to the matrix. And F1 is a peripheral membrane protein complex and contains the catalytic site for the formation of ATP. And when a pair of protons pass through F0 to F1, the energy contained in them is used for the synthesis of one ATP molecule. And during electron transfer, the hydrogen atoms split into proton and electron, and the electrons are shunted over the electron carriers, and they recombine with their protons to form the hydrogen atoms, which is accepted by oxygen to form water. And since oxygen drives the whole process by removal of the hydrogen from the system and efficiently allows the formation of ATP, this process is also known as the oxidative phosphorylation. Understood? And another is there which you have to know is proton gradient. What is that? The difference in the concentration of the hydrogen ion across the inner membrane, that is between matrix and the intermembrane space, is known as the proton gradient. Okay, and at each step of the electron transport, energy is used in transporting the protons from the matrix to the intermembrane space, and this results in a higher proton concentration in the intermembrane space than the matrix. And when protons try to move following concentration gradient back into the matrix, the membrane is permeable only at F0 to F1 complex, and when the proton pass through the complex, the energy contained in them is used for the formation of ATP. This is the electron transport system and oxidative phosphorylation. Understood? Next is the respiratory balance sheet. The calculation of the net gain of ATP for every glucose molecule oxidized can be made on different assumptions. First, there is sequential orderly pathway, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, electron transport following one after the other. Okay, and the NADH which is synthesized in glycolysis is transported into the mitochondria, but it undergoes oxidation, which is coupled with electron transport. And none of the intermediate of these pathways is utilized as raw material in any other pathway. And only glucose, you have to remember, only glucose from the respiratory substrate and no other substrate enters the glycolytic pathway at any of the intermediate steps. Okay. And in eukaryotic cells, the two molecules of ATP are spent in the active transport for the two molecules of NADH formed during glycolysis. This is the respiratory balance sheet. Another thing is there, the pentose phosphate pathway. We say as PPP. It is an alternate pathway for oxidation of glucose which occurs in the cytoplasm. Now here what happens? The PPP, I'm showing now the respiratory balance sheet. You just go through it. And before that, such assumptions are not valid. The respiratory balance sheet, yes, I have one thing to say. These assumptions are not valid because all the pathways in respiration, that is glycolysis, TCA cycle, electron transport and oxidative phosphorylation, they occur simultaneously and not in a sequence one after the other. And the substrate, they keep entering these pathways and they are also withdrawal at several intermediate steps. And ATP is utilized according to the need as and when formed, and rate of the enzyme functions are controlled by several means and not at one site by one mechanism. This is the assumptions which are not valid about the respiratory balance sheet. Okay. Now you have to know the difference between fermentation and aerobic respiration. The difference between fermentation and aerobic respiration. Where I have given very short points here. You collect the points from your book and then you note it down clearly. Next is the amphibolic pathway. The amphibolic pathway refers to a pathway of metabolism, that involves both anabolism and catabolism. Since respiration involves breakdown of organic molecules, it has been considered as a catabolic pathway. But different substances from other pathways, they enter the pathway as respiratory substrate, and certain intermediates from respiratory pathway are withdrawn for synthesis of other compounds through various pathways. Like if you give an example, the fatty acids, they are broken down into the acetyl coenzyme A and they enter the respiratory pathway. Similarly, what happens? The acetyl coenzyme A from the respiratory pathway can be taken out for fatty acid metabolism also. An intermediate of respiratory pathways are taken for the synthesis of proteins and the amino acid. They enter the respiratory pathway after getting deaminated to form the pyruvic acid, and it is oxidatively decarboxylated to form the acetyl coenzyme A in the presence of coenzyme A, and then enters the Krebs cycle. So you have to also draw the chart for the respiratory breakdown of organic molecule. Next, the PPP, which I was telling, that it is an alternate pathway for the oxidation of glucose that occurs in the cytoplasm. And in this pathway, what happens? For every 6 molecules of glucose, one is completely broken down. Means carbon dioxide is liberated, while the other 5 are regenerated, and oxidation of the glucose is favored by the presence of NAD+, which is reduced to NADPH. Now, what is the significance of PPP? The pentose phosphate pathway is significant. Why? The NADPH molecules produced in these cycles are used for various other biosynthetic reactions, and the pathway produces a number of sugar phosphate that are used for the synthesis of nucleotide, lignin, etc. And it also helps in overcoming the oxidative stress in the RBC. Next we come to the respiratory quotient or respiratory ratio, we say. The respiratory quotient, what is that? It is defined as the ratio between the volume of carbon dioxide evolved to the volume of the oxygen consumed in the process of respiration. Now, how we do it? A respiratory quotient is denoted as RQ. It is equal to the volume of the carbon dioxide evolved by the volume of oxygen consumed. Now, RQ is 1 when the carbon dioxide is the respiratory substrate and respiration is aerobic, because equal volume of carbon dioxide and oxygen are evolved and consumed respectively. And RQ is less than 1 when the respiratory substrate is either a fat or a protein and respiration is aerobic. In that time, we say that RQ is less than 1. And when RQ is more than 1, when we say when an organic acid is the respiratory substrate and respiration is aerobic. Clear? And what is the significance of respiratory quotient? It helps in determining the respiratory substrate. It gives an idea of the type of respiration being performed, and it provides some clue about certain transformation of food materials. Understood? So this is all you have to learn from this chapter of respiration in plants. We have completed this chapter. So till this much today. Thank you so much.